Okay, this is a tough one about trans stuff and gender ethics, because eventually a lot of conversations about God's wisdom for trans people seems to get to this point where someone claims, well, it's transition or suicide. And to be clear, this really matters, right? Like, we know that 41% of trans people attempt suicide as compared to 1.6% of the general population. That's a big deal. Trans people were made in the image of God, and God highly values them. Yet the brokenness of this world has cruelly convinced some trans people that they aren't worth loving and that their precious life is not worth living. So yeah, those stats demand attention. They cannot be ignored. But is this transition or suicide mantra true? Has transition been scientifically proven to reduce suicide risk? Well, the long story short, no. Available research does not demonstrate that hormonal or surgical transition effectively reduces suicide risk. So let me get into this, and this is really heavy, but I think it's important, at least the scientific claim here, right? Okay, so some scientific research has demonstrated that using gender-affirming hormones or puberty blockers was associated with a lower risk of suicidal ideation. That's true. Yet different analysis of the same data found that males going through hormonal transition were actually more likely to plan suicide, to attempt suicide, or to require hospitalization for a suicide attempt. Similar analysis found that 16 and 17-year-olds who received hormones were more than twice as likely to report a past year suicide attempt requiring inpatient hospitalization. And a similar kind of story emerges around surgical transition. So scientific studies have consistently found that surgical transition effectively reduces gender dysphoria and leads to high patient satisfaction. But those studies have also found that they fail to reduce depression and suicidality. And a longitudinal study of surgical transition in Denmark found that while 21% of participants experienced a reduction in suicidality after transition, 15% of participants experienced an increase in suicidality after transition. So yeah, available research doesn't demonstrate that hormonal or surgical transition effectively reduces suicide risk. So if transition isn't the solution to trans suicide, then what is? Well, I think that the solution is the same as what any psychologist would recommend to someone who is struggling with depression and suicidality. In-person talk therapy with a counselor to address grief and loss, regular exercise and physical activity, use of antidepressants, and a broad community of social support. So yeah, if a trans person you're supporting is struggling with suicidality, help them find a therapist or a counselor, go with them on walks, and help them maintain and deepen connections with safe friends and family.